So for our facing cut, we need to take our material, we need to readjust that inside of the chuck. Before we go to readjust it, we have to do one thing to kind of protect our project. Right now this has that knurling or the crosshatch on it. If I take that crosshatch and I put it inside of the jaws of the chuck, it's going to put an indentation in that knurling and it's going to ruin it. So I'm going to take a quarter sheet of paper, we're going to wrap that around our work, and then we're going to place that back inside the lathe chuck. So we're going to grab our chuck key, we're going to put our chuck key in, we're going to loosen that work up, we're going to take, at that point you can, I don't know if you can see on the video, our knurling crosshatch. We're going to take our paper, we're going to place that on the project. That's going to absorb some of that cutting oil that's also on there. Okay, we're going to wrap that tightly around the project. We don't want to crunch it up like wrapping paper on a gift. We're going to wrap that paper nice and tight. We would then want to we're going to slide that back inside the lathe chuck. And we're going to tighten our material up. We want roughly 2 inches of material sticking out of the chuck for this. The facing cut operation is cutting the end of the project off. So if we take a look, we want to get rid of the center drill that's on the end of our project. Slide this over for you. We want to see if we can slide this in for you so you can see. So right here we have a center drill. And that's what we want to remove. Sorry. And sort of see it there. We want to take and make that bottom perfectly flat. So that's the part we're going to machine. We want to take our knurling tool out of the chuck and we're going to replace that with a round nose tool. We're also going to use the straight tool holder for that. So we want to remove this. So we're going to take our 7/16 wrench, loosen this up. We're going to take our knurling tool out and that can go back up in the tool rest. Pardon my reach. We want the straight tool holder. So we're going to take and put our straight tool holder inside the tool post. Right now you can just loosely tighten that up. We want to use the same bit we had before, our round nose tool. And that's the bit that we want to place inside of there. So we're going to take our round nose tool, we're going to put that inside of the end of our tool holder, and we'll finger tight that also. Now, I need to set my tool bit so it touches the center of the live center. We want to cut exactly to the center of that. So we're going to take our cross feed hand wheel, we're going to go inward, and we're going to move our carriage over until my tool bit just touches the tip. Once I have that, we will tighten everything down. Remember, 2 fingers, give a light pull. Same on the tooling, 2 fingers, light pull, and that's locked into place. The next step is going to be to actually cut this. So when we cut this, we need to make light passes. We don't want to take a lot of material off at one time. We want to get nice and slow with it. So we're going to give it a free spin. Remember, it doesn't cost anything. We have good clearance here and we're ready to start. So power on, clutch up, and we are going to begin to cut. So I'm going to take my carriage, I'm going to bring it to the left, I'm going to take my cross slide, I'm going to push into the center of the work. Now, as I cut the end of this hammer handle, we can only cut to the center, and then we have to back our cross slide up. The reason being, when the tooling is on the opposite side of the work, on the opposite side of that hole, the material is actually spinning in the wrong direction, and the tool bit is not going to cut anything. So we can only take our cross slide or our cross feed to the center and then back it up. Okay? We'll continue to do this until that hole is gone. So nice light passes. We can't take this off in one pass. We do multiple passes. We might make 8 to 10 passes to remove that. Maybe not even that many. But you can't take it off in one, that's for sure. Okay, I think we have roughly one more pass. We will take our rest to the center. We're going to back that out nice and slow. And the bottom is now flat. The facing cut is complete. The last thing we want to do before we move forward is what's called a chamfer. And that is a small angled cut on the outside edge of this. Right now with the knurling and our perfectly flat edge, the outside edge of this is actually sharp. We want to take and cut that down. So we're going to take our clutch, pull it back up. We're going to take our tool bit and we're going to just barely touch it off the outside edge of that project. So we're going to go and bring our carriage to the left. And that's what our chamfer cut is. Okay? When we bring it back, we will start the next turning cut. Our next step of the project is to prepare for the turning cut. So, as you can see right here, my knurling doubled up, and that's where we started at. We're going to cut from here down through the end, and we're going to take our diameter of this, and we're going to reduce that and also shine it up. So, from where my starting point is, I want to take my paper, and I'd like to place that on there 2 inches away. So, we're going to take our paper, we're going to wrap that on there to protect our knurling. We're going to slide this back into the chuck, and tighten our chuck up. We also want to take and go back to our round nose tool. So our round nose tool is in our offset tool holder. We want to take, just like we previously did, we want to bring this a little closer first. We want to take our tool bit and we want to touch that off the work so that our tool bit is centered. So we will get that into position. Once we have it, we'll tighten up our tool post, 2 fingers, light pull. We'll also do the same on the tooling. So, just to double check everything. Now that we have that locked in, we're going to slide our tailstock down until it touches the work. Lock that in with our tailstock lock. Light turn on the wheel, and now we are ready to start to cut. We are going to start from, like I said, where our knurling doubled, and work to the end. When we get to the end of the work, we're going to go in a little bit more and bring it to the left. We're going to continue to do that until we get to roughly 7/16 of an inch diameter. So right now we're at 3/4 of an inch diameter. We're going to get on to 7/16. In order to check that, we're going to take a pair of outside calipers. We're going to set those to 7/16 of an inch. When our outside calipers slip over top of the work, we will then know that we are at 7/16 of an inch. After that, we're going to show you some precision measuring, and we're going to get this thing down to 3/8 of an inch diameter as the directions indicate. So we'll start our turning passes. So in order to do that, we'll give it a free spin, power on, clutch up. We're going to take our cross slide or our cross feed forward, okay, until it touches our work. And just like we previously did, we're going to take and start to make passes. We don't want to go too fast. We want to have a nice cut. We also want to make it so that the work stays cool. If we try to take off too much material at one time, it's going to be problematic. So we're going to go nice and slow. I'm going to speed the lathe up a little bit so I can go a little bit faster for the demonstration. You will not have to do this. You're going to run at a slower speed. But in the interest of time here, we'll show you this. Okay? As we're cutting, if there's a big string that develops, literally stop your lathe tool, stop the carriage, and that will fall off. So we'll continue to run down to the end. When we get down to the end, if there's a lot of scrap in the way, we can push our clutch down, remove that material, and continue to cut. Okay? At this point here, I'm going to continue to cut. I'm going to take my cross feed. We're going to turn that to the right, clockwise, and then we're going to make our pass to the left. So we're going to turn this, and I always tell the kids by time. So right now, this is at like 11 o'clock at night, right? If we're looking at the clock. We're going to turn that to about 12 or 1 o'clock, and then we'll go ahead and make our pass. Okay? And that's roughly enough of a pass to continue. Okay, I'm going to complete some more passes, and we'll see you back here in just a quick minute. Okay, we're continuing to make passes. What we do want to do though is check our dimension and see where we're at. So how do we want to do that? We're going to take first our pair of outside calipers, and we need a ruler. And we want to take and set our calipers to 7/16 of an inch. Okay, that is 1/16 larger than 3/8. That's our finished size, 3/8 of an inch. So we're going to line this up. We're going to have our outside calipers set to 7/16 of an inch. I normally set it off the center of the ruler. You can set it from the end of the ruler. I don't know if it's quite as accurate, so I prefer to do that in the center. So how do the outside calipers work? We want to take these and try to slip them over the work. Okay, light pressure. They should just barely grab and then go over. So right now, obviously, the material is not 7/16, it's still larger. We're going to run a few more passes, and as soon as we can get these to slip over, we are going to switch to a micrometer. We're going to show you how to read a micrometer, and we will move forward from there. Okay, I just made another pass. We're now going to take our outside calipers. You can see they just, a little bit of pressure, they slide over top of the work. Okay? Just a little bit of pressure it takes. So that means we're very close. We're going to run one more very light pass, and then we will continue with that cut. Okay? So just as we've been doing previously, nice and slow, nice and steady. We're not looking to set the world on fire here. The slower we go, the nicer the cut's going to be. Once you get into the upper levels of metal technology, we will start to use the power feed. So we use that for the knurling cut. We will take and start to use the power feed for cuts like this, just to show you what it looked like in an actual machine shop setting. You would probably do things by hand like this, but as you become a little bit more advanced and comfortable with the equipment, we will use more of the features. Okay, next, we're going to give you the quick way to measure with a micrometer. We're not going to get too in-depth with this. We're going to spend a little bit more time when we get to the precision measuring unit. But for all purposes now, we're going to grab this part of the micrometer. We're going to turn that towards ourselves, and that's going to open up our measuring area. Okay? So we're going to place this open first. Then we're going to take our micrometer, we're going to put that over top of the work. We're going to turn this part here on the outside, the thimble. Okay, we're going to rotate that, and we don't want to over tighten it. That's why we grab the outside of this thimble right here. We're going to turn that portion. When it starts to spin or click, one or the other, then we know we're at the dimension we want to be at. So if I pull my micrometer off, I'm going to take a reading on here. We are at 440, okay, 0.440. So we're going to do some quick math here and show you what we have. So we're at 0.440. We want to get down to 0.375. That is our finished dimension. Okay, so we're going to subtract that number, and we're going to come up with 65 thousandths. 0.065. We need to remove 65 more thousandths of material before we get down to 0.375. 0.375 is 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so how do we do that? How do we remove 65 thousandths accurately so that we can cut down to exactly 3/8 of an inch? If we go under 3/8 of an inch, or 0.375, we will not have enough material to start our project and start the threads. So we're going to use this thing right here. This is called a micro dial. The micro dial is very important. Okay, and we're going to take this to the end of our work, and that's where we're going to start it. So the micro dial is going to count for us as we turn our cross slide. So how do we start this process? We are going to first turn on the lathe. We're going to pull up on the clutch and get it spinning. On our micro dial, there is a very small screw here. You want to turn that to the left, just a very little bit to loosen it. Right now, when I turn the cross slide or cross feed, that spins with it. We want to loosen this up, and now you can see the micro dial spins free will. Okay? We want to take our tool bit and we want to touch that off the work until it barely takes just a little skin off of it. So you're going to see me touch this off, and it's just barely going to touch that work. Okay, it's just touching right there. So I'm now going to bring my micro dial, and it's probably hard to see. There's a line cast. We're going to take our micro dial and bring our 0 on the micro dial to that line. I'm going to try and zoom in. We'll see if it'll grab it. See if I can zoom here. Okay, it's a little blurry, but you can still kind of see it. Right now I'm at 0. We're going to take off 65 thousandths. As I rotate my cross slide, this micro dial is going to spin with it. This counts in thousandths. So I'm going to take off roughly 20 thousandths at a time until I get to 65 thousandths. So we're going to turn our cross feed to 20 thousandths, and we're going to run this pass to the left. When I get to the inside corner of my work, we're going to keep increasing by 20 thousandths. We're going to turn this to 40. So we'll finish our, sorry about that. Okay, we're going to finish our pass here. Okay, we're going to increase to 40 thousandths. Okay, we're going to run this pass to the end. Now, I could turn it to 65 thousandths because that's what we need to remove. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I'm going to take another 20 thousandths off, take it to 60. Once I take my 60 pass, I'm actually going to remeasure this with the micrometer and double check. These lathes are from 1978. They've been used, really not abused. We try to take care of them as best we can, but the dials can be just a few thousandths off sometimes. So we want to have an accurate measure, as accurate as possible. So we'll just do it this way here, and it'll make life a little bit easier. Accuracy is the key here. So we're going to finish this pass, and I'm actually going to re-zero the tool when I get to do that. So we're going to bring into our inside corner, we're going to back out our cross feed, push our clutch down, we're going to grab our micrometer, come back to the end here, and we're going to take a reading. We should be around 380. And we are at 389. So we're still just a little bit over. So we'll take one more pass. Let's zero this guy off of here. Okay. Loosen up the knob on our micro dial, touch our tool bit off. Re-zero. It's roughly, we'll take another roughly 20 thousandths off. We're taking some heavy passes. And sometimes if we take a heavier pass, it will bump that tool and adjust it. So we'll run this here and we'll see where it puts us. Okay, we're back our tool out, push our clutch down, and see where we are. We should be within a couple thousandths. In fact, we might be under just a couple thousandths, and that's okay for what we're doing here. Okay, we are right there. We are roughly 4 thousandths under 375. So we're actually at 0.371, 4 thousandths off, which is fine. For this process, that's more than okay. We're right there. Okay, so very last step of this project before we go to do our finishing, we're going to take and put a chamfer on this edge. Remember, we knurled this. We have a radius in the inside of this corner. We're going to take and put a chamfer on here so it's also not sharp. So just like we did before, we're going to take our tool bit, we're going to touch that off the edge and cut that light chamfer. We also have to cut a little bit of material off the end of this. Commonly, I've done it on the lathe before we finish up on the lathe and we call it done and we cut it off there. But just in case we have an issue when we make the hammerhead, we don't want to sell ourselves short and cut that off. Otherwise, we may have to potentially re-drill it if we have to do any more turning work on this. So we're going to leave this center drilled on the end. Later down the road, we're going to cut this off of here and put a chamfer on this end. We'll show you folks how to do that. Okay, that is the machine work for the hammer handle.